Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock, Drogheda. There's an old English hymn written by a Church of England priest and set to music actually by Charles Wesley's grandson, Samuel Sebastian Wesley. And the song says this: "The church's one foundation is Jesus Christ her Lord. She is his new creation by water and the word. From heaven he came and sought her to be his holy bride. With his own blood he bought her, and for her life he died." You know, the Bible says in 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 11, "For no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ." I pastor a church called Solid Rock, Drogheda. And in the early days when we were founding the church, we had quite a number of young men coming to us from the town of Drogheda who had really been running quite wild. Some of them had been involved in antisocial activities, some in gangs, some in drug abuse, other alcohol abuse, other kinds of things. And I remember one of those young men coming to me, and we were getting ready to open our first premises. And he said to me, he says, "You know what?" He said, I'm just worried about the name you give the church." And I says, "Why? What do you mean?" He said, "Well, he said, I don't want my parents to know I'm going out to a church." And I said, "Why ever not?" And he proceeded to tell me that his parents weren't bothered at all whenever he was running wild. They weren't bothered at all if the police were turning up at the door over something he had been doing. But they had been warned by a local parish priest that he had to stay away from the born-again Christians. And so his parents would have gone absolutely berserk if they'd known he was going out to a church. And so we agreed that we would actually call the new church the Solid Rock Centre. And so when he was going out at night, his parents would say, "Where are you going?" He would say, "I'm going to the Solid Rock Centre." And they thought it was some kind of rock music club and were perfectly happy for him to go when they would have been appalled that he was going to a church. Well, that was a long time ago. That was 27 years ago. And today the Solid Rock Church is in Drogheda, and everybody I think in Drogheda knows exactly what we are and who we are. But that name Solid Rock was really put there. But why? Because Jesus is the solid rock on which the church is built. He is the foundation, not a denomination, not a person. In fact, one of the things that really used to irk me in the early years of our church is that people would call it Nick's place. They would say, "Where are you going?" "Oh, I'm going to the meeting at Nick's place." And man, I had to work so hard to get that people to change their way of thinking at it, that it was not Nick's place, it was Jesus's place, because Jesus is the foundation upon which every church must be built. And you know, today we need to make sure that we keep Jesus at the center of everything we do. Sometimes it's tempting to build on another foundation. Sometimes it's tempting to put other things first. Sometimes it's tempting to have different priorities. And we need to get back to Jesus and for him to be the one foundation of the church, because he is the only sure foundation. Other foundations crumble. Other foundations fail and give way. For me, I love visiting different places, and I'll never forget the first time I visited Pisa, and the Leaning Tower of Pisa, of course, is there. And you know, people were getting their photographs took with it and going up to it and everything else. I just went to a cafe nearby where I could just sit and look at that tower, ordered myself an espresso coffee. Of course, being in Italy, you're getting the best espresso coffee in the world, and just sat and stared at that tower, leaning at this crazy angle because the foundation was not sufficient. And I asked God to speak into my life, that my life would be built on a solid foundation, and the only solid foundation is Jesus Christ. That's the foundation I'm building on. I pray it'll be the foundation you build on also. And would you please join us again next time for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.